What?
I'm looking at the players celebrating.
Congratulations, Florida Panthers fans. I know you've been waiting for this. First Stanley Cup.
Remarkable accomplishment. So hard for
First time as champions.
Going the other way, pass me to the right or the
Lived in Edmonton for a couple years, so I kind of was pulling for Edmonton. I'm a Vegas Golden Knights fan, as many of you know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't care about hockey. Ignore the first 2 minutes of this video if you do. But congrats to those fans. We have a couple of fans in Bears Nation that are living in Florida, that are Panthers fans, that are Cats fans. And they are very relieved after being up 3-0 and pulling it off in Game 7. So congrats to you guys. Very excited to be back with you guys on Free Talk Tuesday. Actually, on Tuesday, I'm recording on Monday night as I have finally returned from vacation, as the players are doing now. I'm just trying to follow suit with them. I got a little sun-kissed, had a lot of fun. I'm enjoying my summer. I am going to go on a few more trips. I am actually coming to Wrigley next month to be able to see the Cubbies play, and then we get into training camp, and then the real world for the Bears begins. 23 days from today, 23 days. Ooh, rookies report to camp, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I am going to narrow down today's video. I'm not going to go free talk on a bunch of different things. I'm going to narrow it down to something that I've wanted to do for a while. There's some of these videos that I want to do that I'm really excited about. I'm going to narrow it down to who I think, because we're finally a deep team. And after we sign Connor Williams, yes, I'm going to avoid this being a Connor Williams video again. I know the obsessive Connor Williams watch is going to have to wait until we have further news. CW and CW just makes too much sense. Caleb Williams, Connor Williams, CW to CW, every single play, the two of them touching the ball. If you didn't see my video yesterday, big news from Rosenhaus, his agent. He's not going to re-sign with the Dolphins. All right, no more news on Connor Williams. We're going to wait till big news happens. We're going to go today because after Connor Williams signs, we're going to have one of the deepest teams that I've seen as a Bears fan in a long, long time. I don't remember a time when we had backups that were this good. In fact, the one thing that I complained constantly about, and the one thing a lot of analysts said, was the Bears aren't deep. And that was so true last year. When Tevin Jenkins was injured, Ja'Tyre Carter was okay, wasn't up to snuff. When Braxton Jones got injured, Larry Borum was one of the worst swing tackles in the entire league. Now, at that position, we're kind of speculating at this point that Kieran Amagaji can be a solid starter/backup swing tackle in this league. But I've got confidence in what I've seen so far from him. So, other than that, we're deep, guys. We're in a position I don't remember this Bears team being in, and I'm very excited for it. So, in today's video, we are going to review the backup positions, and I'm going to give you my top 5 backup positions that will be the most impactful this year. I got to turn this off. I just muted it. Got to turn off the Stanley Cup celebration. A little bit of a distraction. All right, so let's get right into this. We're going to talk about which players will be the most impactful, and we're going to count them down. But first, to do that, we need to look at a few things from this team. So first, let's look at the offensive line. So here's as we stand right now. And again, we won't get too deep. I know I say it and then I retract myself. We're not going to get into the Connor Williams speculation. We're just going to assume it's going to happen. Because it's going to happen. It only makes sense. It makes the most sense of anything that's ever made sense for the Bears to make sense of making sense. It makes sense. Get it done, Ryan Poles. Especially with Nate Davis. And whatever question marks are there, Ryan Bates being a solid right guard, he's played a full season there. Now there are the question marks. Does Connor Williams want to come here? Are the Bears willing to offer him a deal? I mentioned it the other day. He played in Texas. Then he's played in a dome in Arlington. Then he played in Miami. And he hasn't played in the cold weather. Does he want to play in the cold weather? But he's also performed very well when he has played in cold weather. Some people bring up the snaps with him. It's malarkey. He's above average. Yes, he's had a couple of muff snaps. Not more than any other center. Sure, not at the top of the league level at this point. But I have no doubt after 25 games of playing center that he's getting his bearing under him and that he's going to continue to ascend. Right now, he's the second-ranked center in the entire league behind Frank Ragnow, and I only see him improving and getting better and better. I see him continuing to grow. So here we are at the offensive line position, and we're going to take away right now automatically the starters. So they're not in this conversation. So we're going to take these guys away. And for the purposes of this video, I want impactful. And really, I just see the offensive line as solidified. And I don't want to jinx anything with health or with the needs. And yes, Larry Borum played a lot of snaps last year because he had to, out of necessity. I think it was 411 snaps. We're going to go on the assumption that everyone's going to stay healthy. So we don't need an offensive lineman to be an impactful player. They don't rotate as much unless there's really health concerns. So we're going to go ahead and cross out the offensive line from this conversation. They're out of this conversation. They're not in our top 5. I realize there's a lot of guys we could highlight. There's a lot of guys that have a lot of potential to be impactful for this team. Kieran Amagaji, Ryan Bates. There's guys that can really help us out. I'm just going to suffice it for this video to say I'm happy with where the line is headed. And if our obsessive Connor Williams, see, that's going to be the one problem with the CW. Easily mix up the two. The obsessive Connor Williams watch is going to have to wait for another video. We're just going to leave the offensive line out of this video. Now let's take a look at the impactful rotational positions. So one part of this is who's going to be impactful. Well, how often do they play? So I've kind of put some of the main backups right here at the bottom of the screen, kind of alluding to some things, but we'll see how it goes as we go along. So for our impactful rotational positions, number 1, wide receiver. The starters played 72.2% of snaps last year. Now that would be your main 3 guys. That would be last year, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, and Tyler Scott. Those were your 3 starters at the wide receiver position. They played 72.2% of snaps. The backups played 27.8% of snaps. Then we move on to the tight ends. And the tight ends played 78.3% of snaps. And I consider 2 of them as starters. And especially with Shane Waldron's offense where he plays 12 and 13 personnel sets a lot. We're going to have 2 tight ends be starters. So this year would be Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Last year we played a lot of 12 personnel as well. So that would be Cole Kmet and Robert Tonyan. 78.3% of snaps, they were in the game. 21.7% the backups were in the game. For running back, the starters played 48.1%, and the backups played 51.9% of the snaps. Roshan Johnson's ball carrying and his passing and his run blocking and pass blocking and being in the game period grew significantly throughout the remainder of the year. Now, there also are other reasons that the backups at the running back position get more snaps than at other positions, such as injury. Injury happens a lot at the running back position. We went out and got Darrington Evans at certain points because we needed the help. Deonta Foreman and Khalil Herbert. So 51.9 with the backups, 48.1 with the starters. It's just how the cookie crumbled on that one. But part of that was Roshan Johnson getting more workload. Move on next to the defensive ends, the starters. Now this is this is an impactful position, period, because defensive ends rotate a lot. You're going to have your backups play a lot because they rotate in and out, and there's different scheme sets. The starters played 55.7% of the snap. The backups played 44.3% of the snap. You're going to see the starters play more this year because Montez Sweat is going to play the majority of the snaps. Also, Yannick Ngakoue got injured last year, which did bring the backups down a little bit, and DeMarcus Walker got more of a role there. But I took into consideration where the starters were starting and even considered DeMarcus Walker part of his starting role as well, the games he started on. So that is 55.7 to 44.3. All right, we'll try to roll through this quicker because I know this is the boring stuff, but it just shows which positions play more often. The defensive tackles starters played 63.8. Backups got 36.2, and last year your backups were Jervon Dexter and Zack Pickens. Justin Jones and Andrew Billings got the lion's share, but they got a lot of snaps. You're going to rotate a lot at that position as well. Then, because of injury, cornerbacks play a lot too. Different things happen at that position, but 76.6 as starters, 23.4 as backups. And at safety, the starters play 71.6 and the backups play 28.4. This is just how last year went. Nothing historical. I'm just giving what happened last year to show where those positions of need really are. And if you look, the defensive line really needs help with backups more than anything, which is why there's a lot of concern this year going into the year that we don't have a solidified defensive line. This is why everybody wants us to go sign one more defensive end or defensive tackle or find someone to really round out that defensive line. Then the running backs, and then you've got your safeties, your wide receivers. I didn't put quarterback on here because I am not going to do anything to jinx Caleb Williams from being injured. And really, Tyson Bagent, when he did play the 4 games, guys, I know everyone falls in love with Tyson Bagent, and I get it. He's fun, and we did win a couple games. But I've rewatched every single game from last year, and if you watch the games, it wasn't pretty. There's a reason he didn't have good grades, and there's a reason they had to throw screen passes on every other play for him. More than any other quarterback in the league, he threw screen passes. Roshan Johnson saved his butt a lot. He threw very errant, very unclean. Even the one play to Cole Kmet that was the highlight reel, many consider the number 1 play of the year last year for the Bears, wasn't a fantastic throw. Cole Kmet did an amazing job to go up and get it. I'm not trashing on Tyson Bagent. That's not the point of this video. We're just not going to consider quarterback. We're also not going to consider linebacker because linebackers, the starters. Now, remember, sometimes we have 2 linebackers in, sometimes we have 3, but I consider all 3, the Mike, Will, and the Sam, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, and Jack Sanborn, all starters. So they played 97+% of snaps. So we're not even going to consider the linebacker position for this video as well. So really, this is where we round out, and this is where we're going to look for our backups, our key backups for this year. Now, I understand and I agree that we need more help at the defensive line, but really, we've got some solid backups as it stands right now. So let's look at the other positions. Here's our offensive playmakers. You've got your starters up on the top row, as we've talked about. Now, the addition of DeAndre Swift is huge, and I'm going to get into DeAndre Swift and his ball catching, but I think something a lot of Bears fans are overlooking is with Roshan Johnson, how good of a ball catcher he was. I can't do so much highlights on here and have it get away with it. But if you go watch Roshan Johnson's tape, he saved multiple games with Tyson Bagent at quarterback because Bagent would throw terrible, and he would find a way to be an elite pass-catching running back. I think Roshan Johnson is primed for a huge year this year. It's going to be fun to watch him. All right, so we're going to take those top guys out of the equation. And as I said, we're going to take out quarterback as well. And really, when you look at that, with our wide receivers, I don't think the backups are going to have a huge role this year because you have such elite starters. Now, I would like Tyler Scott to have a nice role. He really came on at the end of the year last year and played really well. I really liked what he did. I think DeAndre Carter mostly came over for his return abilities, but really there's going to be a lot of competition there at the return. You're going to have Velus Jones, obviously, who I've got as a backup slot right here. But really, both of them are going to be for return primarily, but they're going to get some chances receiving the ball, and we might carry a 7th wide receiver. Who knows yet? We'll see when we trim down the roster. But then you've got Ian Wheeler, and a lot of people don't remember Tyler Scott actually with Velus Jones having his, I think it was a hamstring injury to start the year last year. The first rookie from the 2022 class, 23? What year are we in? The 2023 class, Tyler Scott. The first rookie to touch the ball was Tyler Scott. He returned the very opening kickoff return. He was the one who received it and returned it. And then the very first touchdown by a rookie, let me remember. I know it was Roshan Johnson in the first game against the Packers. It was Darnell Mooney actually had the first touchdown of the year, and then Roshan Johnson had the first rookie touchdown in that game. He scored the touchdown before the game ended against the Packers. So that's kind of where we stand with those, and these are who I highlight as could be the impactful backups. And I'm going to take Khalil Herbert. I highlighted him, but I'm going to take him out of the equation because really, as it stands right now on the depth chart, it's he and DeAndre Swift kind of rotating 1 and 2. And I'm also going to, without spending too much time on it, I'm going to say Khalil's going to lose a little bit of his time. Now, I think Khalil is undervalued. I think he's a great running back. I don't know if we extend him at this point, but I really think Roshan Johnson is going to get a bigger lion's share this year than people realize with how much he got at the end of the last year. His yards per carry, his yards per attempt, his pass blocking, his run blocking, his elite pass catching. He's going to be such a safety net for Caleb Williams in the backfield to be able to flick it to him and to get it to him. And he's not going to... You guys know I'm the last one to bag on Justin Fields. I'm not here to bag on Justin Fields. But there are several, when you go back and watch the tape, where, and this is part of why Herbert got hurt, where they're behind him on screen passes or dump out plays to the flats. They don't lead him. And then you go watch Caleb's tape with Marshawn Lloyd, and he leads him very well. He has such touch. Good ball placement. Now, please, guys, don't take that as me trashing Justin Fields. Not the point. But we did have an issue last year with both Fields and Bagent on those flat passes, on those screen passes. They didn't lead them. And you talk about the field position game, where we're talking about Torrey Taylor being this phenomenal punter, giving us field position, and we talk about Velus Jones giving 7 extra yards over other kick returners, which is why he's safe on the team. Those 7 yards, plus pinning them back in the 5, those extra 15 yards, those matter. Now, when you're leading your running back, and you're on a flat pass, or you're on a screen pass, and you throw the ball behind them, it takes away the field position game. There are several games where those didn't lead to first downs because they weren't being led, and it led to an injury for Khalil Herbert. So I'll leave it right there with that, but I think it's going to be a really good mixture right there with Caleb Williams. All right, let's move on to the defensive line. Now, obviously, I put a question mark there. As it stands now, we can speculate all we want, but excuse me. The more I've gotten into the numbers, and this is something, I have so many videos I want to do, guys, but we're going to stick to Free Talk Tuesday. This is where I openly talk about things. Keith Randolph should be a lock to make this team on the defensive interior. Now, I really like Jamrick Croma as well, but Keith Randolph fills the nose tackle role better. Keith Randolph is a pure nose tackle. Andrew Billings is a nose tackle. I mean, he's a power lifter. He's a strong dude. He can stuff the holes, which fits perfectly for our 4-3. You can fill that gap, but when you need the nose tackle there, Keith Randolph fits that. Jamrick Croma is more of a 3-tech to edge mixture player, a lot like DeMarcus Walker. He can play a hybrid role. But of all the snaps last year, a lot of people think Zack Pickens was the backup nose tackle behind Andrew Billings. And he was, technically, but Andrew Billings didn't miss time. Zack Pickens only played a couple games at nose tackle. Really, if Andrew Billings goes down, we're going to have to rely on Zack Pickens and Keith Randolph to fill in that gap. And now Justin Jones is gone. Gervon Dexter is going to fill in that role at 3-tech. Zack Pickens is going to really have to be the guy behind him who fills in that gap. So there's a lot of answers that still aren't done on this defensive line, and there's a lot to get to. And I want to see who we end up signing or who comes out of camp between Keith Randolph, Byron Coward, Jamrick Croma, Dominique Robinson. Who's going to be that guy that really separates himself? So for this video, going over the backups, we're going to get rid of the special teams. Those aren't backup guys, so we're going to get rid of them, and then we're going to get rid of the starters. Who's that leave us left with? Well, when you have so many guys rotating, as we talked about in the other screen, you're going to have guys that fill in constantly on the defensive line. So I'm going to put all 3 of these guys right now, because right now these are the guys that should be rotating the most. Austin Booker, Zack Pickens, Jacob Martin. Now that's a lot to ask of a rookie right there with Austin Booker, but if you remember, he wasn't just a 5th rounder. He was highly touted by most, and I had him projected to the 3rd round as well. 3rd round prospect. Already there's a lot of hype going into him, and if you listen to Eric Washington talk about him, talk about how he has a motor, how he doesn't stop, how he keeps going, how he's hard to get around, how he's hard to contain. He's very impressed with him, which should lead to a lot of people being very excited about him. All right, next we're going to go to the secondary, and guys, the Crucible to me is one of the most exciting things about this team. Obviously, right off the bat, we're going to get rid of the starters. Now, We have some of the best starters in the league, and I love it. I've already said we're going to leave Noah Sewell out of this, even though I love Noah Sewell. He's played very well in special teams, and when he did play the couple of snaps that he did get to play in his rookie year, when he came in, it's not really a huge impact because those three guys really should be leading the way all year, and it shouldn't be something that we have a problem spending significant time on other players other than Tremaine Edmonds, Jack Sanborn, and TJ Edwards. The thing I'm most excited about with this team is how improved our secondary backups are. Terrell Smith last year played very well when he had to come fill in. Now, I was kind of down on him at the end of the year because the game against Green Bay, he was one of the biggest weaknesses. One of the worst games that he had all year was against Green Bay. But Greg Stroman has played very well consistently. Jonathan Owens is a great backup. In many places, he could probably start half the games for them. And he's played both. Strong safety, free safety. He's very versatile. He can play both places. Last year we had Elijah Hicks having to fill in, and he was one of the very worst in the league. When he came in, he was a huge liability. Quindell Johnson's a solid backup, and then we have some good young players to be excited about as well. So with that, I kind of highlighted Jonathan Owens and Terrell Smith. Let's get to who my top 5 are. Number 5, Austin Booker. Now I know that's a lot to say on a rookie right off the bat, but just like Caleb Williams says, don't duck, I think Austin Booker, everything you listen, he's the epitome of humble, and he's coming in ready to play. He's coming in 15 pounds heavier of pure muscle. He's already, let me see if I have it right here. I think I do, right there. Yeah, you can see the pictures. The day he came to Kansas, in season with Kansas, and then at rookie minicamp with the Bears, the size difference of him already. He's already put on some weight, already at 255. He's already had the comps to Max Crosby. If you want to see my video on Austin Booker, go back and look at that. But we'll see if this one gets flagged as well. Doing everything I can to show you guys some highlights of Austin Booker, but YouTube doesn't want to let me do it for some reason. So we'll talk through this. We'll see if it gets flagged. If there's a lap in the video, you guys will know. Polished? I don't think that's the right word for him. I think he's unexperienced. I think if he gets the right amount of experience this year, if he gets 400, 500 snaps, you're going to see him turning into a special player very, very quickly. It's not going to take him long. If you look at his transition in college, when he started getting experience, it took 3 games. In that 3rd game, he made some big plays, and that confidence built, and all of a sudden, he was making plays every game. He's in on the ball every play. He's there every single time. I love everything about him. I'm so stoked for him, and I think that's one of the big reasons the Bears aren't super in a hurry to go out and find another defensive end to re-sign Yannick Ngakoue. So, number 5, Austin Booker. Number 4, I got Jonathan Owens. And the biggest reason here is our backup position now is more solidified than it was a year ago. Last year, Elijah Hicks was a true liability. If you look down below, 8 tackles and 7 missed tackles. You look at Jonathan Owens, 54 tackles, 7 missed tackles. That's the second to last line over here. Now, Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard are some of the best in the league for tackling. And I love that out of my safeties. 88 and 6, 88 tackles, 6 missed tackles for Kevin Byard, 80 and 10 for Jaquan Brisker. Both of those are huge. All 3 of these guys are above 60 PFF grade. You guys know how I love my above 60 PFF grades. When we've got 3 guys above 60, our starters both above 65. Let me go back to that for just a second. Our starters both above 65. We're in good position at the safety position. Stronger than we were last year even. Jaquan Brisker, 5 pass breakups. Jonathan Owens had 3. Now, 3 touchdowns allowed, 3 at the safety position. You're going to get that more than the cornerback position. At least you should. But we're in a lot better position than we were last year. All right, number 3, Terrell Smith. Now, again, I'm going to say it. I was a little bit hard on him at the end of the year just because of how the Packers game went, and there was so much. But if you look at him, 377 snaps is what he got. Now, Jalen Johnson went down for a little bit. Tyreek Stevenson had his concussion. I think it was a concussion. If I'm wrong on that, scratch that. I have to get refreshed on things. But an overall grade of 70, which is solid. In the league, they had him graded 41st out of 128 cornerbacks. This is PFF. Now, that doesn't mean everything because it doesn't take everything into consideration. But he had 377 snaps, and he had a passer rating allowed against him of 81.4. Now, you guys have heard me talk about Jalen Johnson. This is the biggest thing to me, is the passer rating allowed for a cornerback. When you're not allowing the quarterback to get to the corner, to be able to get to the wide receiver, and the corners are in the way, that's the best thing you can do to disrupt their flow. Them pushing the ball downfield is directly related to the cornerbacks doing their jobs. Jalen Johnson having a league best 33.3 passer rating allowed against him is why the Bears did so well in the secondary in the end of the year. Why the Bears led the league in interceptions was because these guys locked it down, getting the ball to everyone, making it so that everybody could swarm in. 33.3. The end of the year, if you've watched my other videos, Tyreek Stevenson on the second half of the year had a 58, I believe. I have to go back and refresh on that. 58 grade. Somewhere around there. Terrell Smith throughout the year was very consistent. 81.4 passer rating allowed against. That's a very, very good grade for a rookie. The thing I noticed about Terrell Smith, he didn't go through that rookie hiccup. And he still has room to improve. He didn't go through the flow. Now, granted, he wasn't starting, and they weren't targeting him. Teams weren't picking on him like they were Tyreek Stevenson. The thing about Tyreek Stevenson, the beautiful thing he had the ability to say, letting that one go, I'm going to improve every play. And he seems to be a student of the game where he understood where things went wrong, and he improved so much that at the end of the year he was a ball hawk. 4 interceptions in the second half of the year alone. Solo tackles 67.9, but look at Terrell Smith, 41 and 4 solo tackles to missed tackles. I love that kind of stuff. I love that we have a backup corner that I feel confident can step in and play if anything happens to Jalen Johnson or Tyreek Stevenson. Now, Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson, to me, are 2 of the very best in the league at the corner position. I will get on Twitter. I will argue with anybody. I think we have the best starting duo of cornerbacks in the entire league. In fact, I'm working on a video for it. I can prove it with stats and with basis. I can show you exactly why they're the best 2 in the league. And I understand other teams have very solid arguments for themselves as well. But if you can't say we're the best, you're definitely saying we're top 5. Terrell Smith, if you're asking for who one of the best backup corners in the league, aside from our top 2, and of course Kyler Gordon's the nickel, and I'm not trying to overlook him. I'm looking at the outside corners for this video. Kyler Gordon is amazing as well. Terrell Smith would be right up there at the top of the league as well. So Terrell Smith is my number 3 most impactful. When he has to step in, I have no doubt he's going to do a good job. Number 2, Zack Pickins. Number 1 reason is with Gervon Dexter and the big steps he's making. Zack Pickens didn't go through his so Gervon Dexter, when Montez Sweat came over, improved significantly. With Zack Pickens, he was getting more pressures, which is very key to the 3-tech and to the 4-3 scheme that we run. It's very key to be getting pressures. But of all of our defensive tackles, our defensive linemen last year, he led our entire team in missed tackle percentage. He doesn't let anybody get past them. Now, he probably needs to put his nose down and get a few more pressures because his pressure rate is not great. But he did improve. The first half of the season, he had 3 pressures with 14.3 missed tackle percentage. The second half of the season, he had 5 pressures with 14.3 missed tackles percentage. Now, I know that doesn't sound significant, but when you put it into ratio, he almost doubled the amount of pressures he had. Now, I think there's a lot of growth for Zack Pickens to go. I don't think he's starter quality and ready yet, but I think with what he learned from his rookie year, he's in for a huge year to be able to play a complementary role. And I'm excited to see what he does. Man, this is my old... Guys, you're going to have to forgive me because I'm not going to go fix this, but this is my old screen where I had the screw up on it, where I had the weights and the heights wrong for Gervon Dexter and Zack Pickens. So forgive this on those. That's the only thing wrong with that right there. All the numbers are right. The pressure, sack hit hurry, the missed tackle percentage, the run defense, the pass defense, the PFF grade, the PFF rank. All that stuff's right. So please forgive the height and the weight. We all know it's wrong. I screwed up again. My bad. But I love Zack Pickens and what he brings to this team. I think he's really going to play a solid complementary role. And for the Bears to be successful, they're going to have him be. All right, number 1, I alluded to it before, Roshan Johnson. Now, this is last year's blocking. I have it down below, run blocking, pass blocking, block efficiency. This is why I think Roshan Johnson is going to play such a major role this year. Now, don't hold me to this because this is me just being an excited fan. Maybe even more so than DeAndre Swift. Okay, don't hold me to it. I'm throwing it out there because, guys, his run blocking, his pass blocking, his blocking efficiency, everything about him gives Caleb Williams the ability to do his job better. And when you're coming into the league and you have a running back that can both block, run well, and receive out of the backfield in a way that basically saves your quarterback's butt, you've got a combination of a running back that could become our running back one. Now, I'm not going to say he's starting the year that way because it's obviously not. DeAndre Swift he signed a multi-year contract for a reason. I like the prospect of DeAndre Swift. I like what he's done in the past. I like how he's quick and shifty. Love everything about him. But Roshan Johnson, while he might not have that same shiftiness and he might not have the breakaway speed, he can perform everything at a high level, and he does it very well. On 80 attempts last year, he had 350 yards. That's 4.4 yards per attempt. 2.35 yards after contact per attempt is very solid. So once he's touched per attempt, he's getting an additional 2.35 yards. 34 receptions on 42 targets, and I'm going to say there's at least double digits that he should not have caught. That because it was him, he did catch them. Now, that 5.6 drop rate is a little bit high for a running back. I think it's right within line. But there's some other ones that he probably is getting credited for dropping that he made look like. If you go watch the tape, Roshan Johnson did a very good job of saving Tyson Bagent's butt. He really did. I'll show a little highlight here in a second. I'll show a little bit of his film. Hopefully it won't get flagged either. If you can't tell, I've got some PTSD about that. I've had a couple of videos get flagged for it, and it really upset me. But obviously, Deonta Foreman's gone. Khalil Herbert is a very solid back who I think is undervalued in this league. But Roshan Johnson is coming into his second year after having a very solid rookie year. He only had 2 touchdowns, but I really think Luke Getsy used him wrong. I really think he had a lot more potential, and I think if they would have ended the Deonta Foreman experiment. Now, I realize Deonta Foreman had some good games, but also, guys, Deonta Foreman dropped the ball and was blocking piss poor. That's why he got benched at the end of the year when Roshan Johnson started getting more touches. And when he got more touches, that experience is valuable, and he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tire still. So Roshan Johnson, let's see here. Take through a little bit of film and see. Running over the Packers right there. See if this gets flagged. I don't know. You might not be able to have this part of the video. If it gets flagged, you'll just see it edited out. You won't even know I'm talking right now. But Roshan Johnson, he might not break away, might not have the shiftiness, but he's got good field vision. He can see the field very well, and he can put his head down and just plow when he needs to. He sees the holes when they're there. He cuts through them, and he makes what he needs to, and he's not afraid to shy away from contact or to hit contact head on. He'll go right for it. So he sees the hole right there, bursts through. Gets 9 yards on that one. Same thing. Sees the hole, push through. I really like Roshan Johnson. So that's why I rated him as my number one backup complimentary player for this season. I think he's going to have a huge breakout year. And for those who don't know, he had more snaps than Khalil Herbert and Deonta Foreman. Not combined, but more than either of them. He led the team in snaps at the running back position. So that's what I have for my top 5 backup impact players this year. Let me know what you guys think. I want to hear it from you. I want to hear if there's somebody that you think I'm overlooking, someone that you think will be more impactful than these 5. But number 1, Roshan Johnson. Number 2, Zack Pickens. Number 3, Terrell Smith. Number 4, Jonathan Owens. And number 5, Austin Booker. Obviously, if we sign another defensive end, it might eat into Austin Booker a little bit, but I don't think it will. I think they want Austin Booker to get a lot of time and a lot of snaps. So I think it's going to be a huge year for him, and I think he's going to get a lion's share. Even if we re-sign a Yannick Ngakoue or a Carl Lawson or someone like that, I really think Austin Booker will get the lion's share of the snaps. They'll be investing in our rookie over the vet. That's just my personal opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Appreciate all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, claws up and bear down.